Hey everyone, welcome to the Money and Wealth Circle with Nancy. This is a podcast where we tell real stories and also share unfiltered conversations, real life conversations around money and wealth. So today, in today's episode, we're going to talk about the reasons why we continue making the money mistakes that we make and the reasons why the richer get richer and the wealthy get more wealthy. Have you asked yourself the simple fundamental questions where when you look at the world, some people just seem to get richer and richer and others wealthier and wealthier? By the way, there's a difference between rich and wealth. There's a difference between money and wealth. And we'll talk about that at one point or the other in the various series of this Money and Wealth Circle with Nancy. So let's start first by asking a few questions. As usual, I am my own interviewer. So for today, I've got two questions. The first question is, have you ever asked yourself why the rich just seem to get richer? Then we're going to ask another question or tackle another question, which is worse or better still, have you ever even asked yourself why someone with less money than you just seems to have it all or seems to be building and creating wealth strategically, consistently, more than you do? Okay, let's start with the first question. Why the rich get richer? Why the wealthy get wealthy? It's a question that we always ask ourselves, and we possibly ask, how can I become like the rich? How can I become like the wealthy? From the very onset, you need money to create wealth. And that's where this podcast is about money and wealth. So in this cycle, you first have generate the income, which is money. But there's a whole secret as to how you make that money work for you in order for you to be able to convert it to wealth and eventually achieve financial freedom. Having money by itself will not give you financial freedom. You can have a lot of money and not have financial freedom. You can have a lot of money and not be wealthy, and that's a fact. Again, that's a conversation for another day. But today I want us to unpack and truly understand why the rich get richer, why the wealthy get more wealthy. And the answer is in two things. Number one, the rich and the wealthy use information as power to be able to power their money decisions and their investments and wealth creation decisions. They use information. They don't use gossip. They don't use my cousin is doing or my sister is doing or my brother is doing. They don't look at what their friend is doing. For us, you could learn from all these people. The most important fundamental thing that they do is they actually use data and information to make money decisions and financial decisions. That's number one. So they'll possibly know which is the best paying money market fund today than you do. They will possibly know which is the best paying and least risky special fund, whether it's Monza X or whatever other fund that you might be looking at, more than you and I know or might know. So the big difference is that they actually use real data and information. And often, because they possibly have had a lot more money, wealth begins with money, a lot more money than we have or you have had, what normally happens is that the people who help private wealth management processes work, in other words, they help the rich and the wealthy become richer and create wealth, will often target those with a lot of money, more money, before they come to you and I, who are possibly just about trying to identify and put together a few resources here and there. So over our lifetime, we become disenfranchised from actually accessing fundamental information and data that will make us get the same level and start to create a life of riches and a life of wealth. So what sort of, it's not just any information. You know, when I was growing up, I grew up a good part of my life. My first, I'd say, 18 solid years, I grew up country in Moranga in a place called Mboiri. And then we moved to Gitaro. Those two places are distinctively different, very, very, very different. But I also had cousins in a place called Mungedo. So we would go and visit our auntie and cousins in Mungedo quite a bit. And then I had my uncle who lived in KTTC, right opposite Gigiri. And that's where when we came to Nairobi, we would spend a lot of time in KTTC and walk around, the precincts of Gigiri. So why am I telling you this? Because the conversations are distinctively different. So the conversations we had, or I had access to in the village, in Kweri, in Kantekene, Gategoro, most of those Gategoro conversations, oh my goodness, uh, they were about, the very early memories I have was about figuring out how to enlarge my breasts. And I'm sure every girl who might have grown up during my times and who might have possibly visited a village or grown up in a village, you must have had consistently girls talking about how they can enlarge their breasts by doing something in the Mount Kenya region we used to call Koromitia Jururi. It was, I'm not quite sure what animal that was, but I actually did partake in those conversations. And not only partook in the conversations, I went to the river and we went looking for those organisms. But I think I must have picked a tadpole because I put it and it never worked. Zero magic. Absolutely zero magic. I was like, what's happening? So I ended up pinching, so that I could, I could see like it's swelling a little bit, So anyway, those are the sort of conversations we're having in Teguro, Moriori River and Kayako River. Okay. And then there are the conversations of Mungedo. Do you know why Mungedo is called a Mungedo in the first place? It is where people basically go to idle about and just create stories, local CNN, as we used to call them back in the day. But then whenever I was in KTTC visiting my uncle in Gigiri, hey, the world would just change and shift significantly. First and foremost, he was a financial professional. He's a financial professional by training, and he was an instructor in. He was in the college in the areas of finance and CPA, KATC, all that, all that space. And thanks to Uncle George, because Uncle George is actually the one who got me into this world of thinking finance and also got him into the world of technology by sheer accident. So it's interesting. I possibly would have, by and large, become a teacher because the best that I had in terms of exposure was in Korea, was teaching in the village. But then when I would come to Nairobi and would spend time with my uncle, everything would change. The conversations were totally different. The environment was different. The children that we played with and the conversations that they spoke about was completely different. So access to information and data is so important in setting you on a path of riches and a path of wealth. Okay. And that is why I'm going to show you something that we have done at Serari. So if you go to serarigroup.com, www.serarigroup.com, which I'm going to show you in a short while, or go to download my Serari app, you will get to see quite a bit of information. And allow me to share my screen. And why do we create this information? We created this information because I personally wanted to get out of the Mungedo situation. And so many people were asking the same questions that we were asking around money. So I'll start by showing you a platform that we created using technology and data and a lot of AI and data science to be able to give you as much information as the rich have. So if you go to your web, your browser and go to serarigroup.com, you'll be presented with this site, which is the Serari site. It is the Money and Life, has the Money and Life Research program that we'll get into a little bit later. But most importantly, it gives you more information that most people actually have to be able to make an investment decision. It's a finance and investment decision platform. Why is this important? So that we can stop making investment decisions blindly. But even more importantly, so we can start to make the right investment decisions and stop being left behind because we are not taking any action, because without information, you can't take action. So on this site, there's something that we call, when you land on the home page, called the Serari Market Indices. And then we have on the left-hand side, we have the market news. So we have market news that determine where the market is going in terms of investment, in terms of news that would affect investments, or that would open up your eyes to see where opportunities are locally in Kenya, within the region in Africa, and globally. And also because we have a very large diaspora population in the US, we also feature the US quite a bit. And on the left-hand side, we also have information specifically on macroeconomic news and exactly what's happening in the macroeconomic landscape. On the right-hand side, there is information here on weekly analyst insights, money market funds, bonds, and fixed deposit movements. Now, there's been a fad, or there's been an excitement, rightfully so, around money markets. So money markets is a general term that refers to investment products that you can access in the money market space that could include products like money market fund, the MMF, unit trusts, fixed income fund, fixed deposits. All that pretty much is the money market. With money, invest, and you make some money. So we call it the money market. So on the right-hand side, every single week, our analysts will look at exactly what's happening and the direction that the market is trading. So for instance, many people do not know that the money market fund, for instance, in terms of yield, has been somewhat declining or receding a little bit compared to where it was last year. But because we have had so much about MMF, all we think about at this point in time is I want to invest in an MMF. First and foremost, every money market product is designed to serve a very specific purpose. If you want money that is going to give you higher returns and you're willing to take the risks, there are special products that are designed for that. In fact, that's why some of them are called the special funds, the special products. And if you want to know about the special funds, there's the information that you can see on this site. Money market funds, however, the special funds, because the risk is higher, then you have to lock them in for a longer period. That therefore means if I put in my money, I cannot access it tomorrow or the day after. It has to be locked in from today for a minimum period of maybe 6 to 12 months. That's one. Now, if I want to put in money that I want to be able to access quickly, access it within a day or two, then the money market fund is it. However, the MMF fund is more volatile in nature, in the sense that the yields go up and down, and therefore you will get a rate at a specific time every time. Now, but we do have obviously different types of products from different service providers, paying different yields. So the other complexity comes in not just in choosing the product, but choosing who should I get the product from. And that is why we have this middle section here. And the middle section of the Serario Market Index shows you how, for instance, the Kenya shilling money market funds are performing and what is their current rate that they're offering today. And we normally list the top five performing. And we also provide information from across the internet on exactly what's being said around the fund, and that could touch on positive sentiments or negative sentiments. That's when you have got the I here, which is a green news, or I here, which sort of point to negative sentiments. And you can go in and be able to make a decision as to, is this a fund I want to invest in or not, based on the information that is available publicly. It's public information. All we have done is actually brought this information to you to enable you to make decisions without bias. We're a transparent platform, and we basically list every fund without favor or without any particular reason why we should, this one should appear, this one should not. So all listed funds will usually appear on this platform. But we also give you a bit of information on what exactly is that specific product, what does it do, how does it work, etc. And on top of the top fives, we also list the full funds dashboard across all, for instance, in this particular case, 27 funds for money market case. We have the same information that's available. If you just go back again to the homepage, you have the USSD money market fund and the direction it's moving. We tell you what is the top five, which you call the leaders index, which is the sum of blue-green line here, how the leaders index and the returns and the yields are performing. And then we also show you what is the Serario index, which is the average across all the funds. So if, for instance, we come up here and you see the Serario Money Market Fund average index is 4.96, and your fund is paying you 3%, you should ask yourself, am I really in the right space or not? Or should I consider a better service provider or a better fund or product? The leaders index is sitting at about 5.68. So where should I possibly be sitting in terms of that? This is as far as the USD denominated money market fund is concerned. And the same case for CASE. So we have the special funds as well here, including Mansa X. You've possibly been asking yourself, what is Mansa X? What is this Mansa X? What is Oak multi-assets? Where do I get this information? How can I compare all the special funds available in the market? Which one is paying the highest? And not just paying the highest, which one has got the highest assets under management? In other words, where most people putting that money and their money in the special funds. And you can see the Mansa X, for instance, Kenya shilling fund has 107 billion plus in assets under management. And then you have close contenders. You can also, by the way, sort by assets under management. So you can see the Oak multi-asset fund by Federal Investment Bank comes at about 9.2 billion. So sometimes you'll make the decision as to, okay, where most people are putting their money is possibly where you want to put your money. But that's not enough. There are other decisions that rich people, wealthy people will use. They look at whether there is any negative sentiment around that fund, what's happening, what are people saying. So you've got a bit of positive and negative news across, and you need to read it. Don't just take it as it is. Read it because some of the information may not necessarily be related to the fund, but could be touching around. The fund may have been mentioned, or the name of the fund may have been mentioned inadvertently, but not to say that the fund is negative. There's negative information. Okay, so this is information that you need to be able to make the right decision across money market funds, special funds, the unit trusts, you've got T-bills, you've got treasury bonds, etc. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to tell you is that the rich and the wealthy use information, they use data to make decisions, money decisions. They also use data and information to be able to make decisions around the world. And that's why we have built this intelligence dashboards that we actually call Financial and Investment Decisions Platform to enable you to get the same level of users. I have access to the same information that everybody else possibly has that they are using to make investments. So there's no reason why you'd say, I don't know where to start. There is a place to start. You start with information. So the rich will always get richer because they have this information which hitherto may not have been accessible to you and provided to you in a democratic way that you can access without paying a single dime. So all this information that you're seeing here as of now, you're able to access it and view it for free or for a minimal access fee. So that's the first thing. Information is power. So what do they do with this information? I'll show you something very, very simple. So let's assume that they want to make a decision around what asset class. An asset class is, we have different products. In the money market, you have got money market funds, you have got unit trusts, you have got you have crypto as well, you stable coins, you have commodities like gold, and you want to be able to make a decision as to where to put in your money. And the first thing that they will do is understand what each product does for you. Some of the products are designed to help you preserve your wealth. Other products are designed to help you generate income. So what exact or short term, storage or value as the value appreciates and as you get paid out, some form of interest or yield. So it's also important not to just say, oh, so this is paying, this particular asset class is paying the highest, so I'm going to put my money there. Your money could get locked there for a very long time because that's what that asset class does. And when you need cash, you're stuck because you put it in an asset that doesn't allow you to access cash. So the first thing that they do is actually to diversify investments. But the market has very many players. So what we've tried to do is for each of the asset classes that we're tracking today in different currencies, we show you what is the best fund available. But a disclaimer, we are not recommending any particular fund. We give you the information to be able to make the decision on yourself and also reach out to different fund managers or investment managers and advisors, or reach out to a bank or financial institution that's offering that product. But this time you're reaching out to them with more information and you're empowered to be able to have the right conversations with them. So they would usually look, for instance, we is still on the home page. When you scroll down to the bottom of the home page, you will see the best investment class for your money today. It shows you the top fund or the top product in that asset class for each of the different asset classes, as you can see, including the best rate, for instance, for savings accounts, fixed deposits, and commodities as well, such as gold. And also shows you even from a crypto perspective and stable coins perspective. So that's the one thing that you need to know, is that they use multiple asset classes and not just one asset class, not just a savings account, because they have information. This information is now available to you. The next thing that they do some calculations. They don't just say, okay, this is the highest paying service provider or product within this asset class. So this is what I will just go blind. No, they sit back and do a bit of math, and that's why we went to school, to do a bit of math. But some of this investment math can be a bit complicated. So especially if you want to use a specific product, because different products have got different characteristics, and you want to know what exactly that product will do for you. My favorite is, most Kenyans, like you and I, are constantly trying to make an extra shilling every single day, whether it is by getting a bigger job or even getting that job that you don't have today, or even getting your business to take off like we are working, to diversify the work that we do in Serae, to increase and diversify income. The first thing, obviously, is to be able to get and generate money and to grow money and to make that money work for you. So the rich and the wealthy, money is not necessarily their bigger problem as of now. So they got the money. The question is, where should they put it? Let's assume the decision is to put it in an asset class that is going to not only protect their money, but give them income on a monthly basis. So most of us will possibly run to real estate. And real estate is fantastic because it not only appreciates and has a great store of value, especially in Kenya. It also does help you, especially if you put enough into let's say, property real estate that includes housing and rental housing. You're able, therefore, to generate some income. However, the catch is here. With rent, sometimes you may not have the rent paid on time because the tenant may have had some challenges that particular month. Or the tenant might move out, so you don't have money to pay during that period. And furthermore, you have to take care of the asset, which is the property, and it costs money to maintain an asset. And once you collect the money, you have to pay tax against the rent that you have collected. Did you know that, for instance, let me show you what the wealthy and the rich will do. They'd do some calculations and compare. If I put in, let's say, 10 million shillings and buy an apartment, first and foremost, the whole process of the purchase process. So there's there's the hidden cost, the unseen costs of time value of money. You possibly will not be able to get your income immediately because there's a process of making the payment, the transfer, the stamp duty, all those processes before the property is handed over to you. Once the property is handed over to you, there's a process of finding a tenant for it. So all these things are playing out in the mind of the rich and the wealthy. And they will still put money, the 10 million, to get an apartment. But they will possibly also consider, before I do that, are there other asset classes that can give me the liquidity, the cash that I want, the money that I want on a monthly basis out of that asset? So they'll pick, let's say, the rates that bonds are making. So we've made our life very simple. We've created calculators like the bonds monthly income calculator. So let me click on this and go down there on the Serae Group website. On the whole page, at the bottom, you'll find financial goal calculators. And the bonds monthly income calculator helps you figure out how you can build a bond portfolio that pays you a coupon payout equivalent to rent collected every single month. So let's go into the bond monthly income calculator. And then possibly go with a target, number in mind. I want to make, let's say, 100,000. Let me use a classic case as an example. I used to have, my family used to have a property in Upper Hill that was valued at about 30 million shillings, and we're only collecting 80,000 shillings from it. 80,000 shillings from it. Okay. That property was worth 30 million. Okay. So if I wanted to generate 80,000 shillings from bonds, it will show me, do I need to put in 30 million shillings or not? So if you click on build my portfolio, using, first and foremost, we want to make sure that as much as is possible, we minimize our tax exposure, and therefore we can pick infrastructure fast, tax exempt bonds, and then you can pick the other bonds that are available. So we will pick infrastructure fast because we want to make sure that when I get my 80,000, I'm getting it in full, zero tax as much as possible. Now, this is very interesting because look at this. Your total investment will only be 6 million shillings to get 80,000 shillings monthly. Yet, a property in Argyle that was valued at 13 million was giving us only 80,000 shillings. There's obviously there could be the debate, oh, but what about the capital gains? But let's stick to the conversation at hand. What you want is income at this point in time. At 6 million shillings total investment, you get 80,000 shillings per month, paid out by the government of Kenya, by a treasury, without any default history, on time. And it shows you how many bonds you can actually put in. So you can say, which bonds that you have to buy and which bonds will therefore pay you the 80,000, which will pay you 80,000 of what period. It pays twice a year and even shows you the monthly calendar. So in January, you'll get paid by the Kenya, the corporate bond, Lindsay bond. And that's the medium term route NEPROD. That's Lindsay 003 IABS FXD medium term route. Okay. And then you have another bond here, a Kenya Infrastructure Bond, IFBI 2024, the 8.5-year bond. Again, that would pay you in February. Then you go March, all the way to December. So you've got a whole calendar planned that you're getting 80,000 shillings a month. Because this particular asset class is giving you a portfolio yield of 14.6 balanced portfolio across the different across the different bonds. So that's important to remember. Imagine I had a 30 million property that we owned as a family that was giving us only 80,000 shillings and a complete headache because the tenant would not pay on time. And the amount of destruction sometimes that would occur that we have to repair. And on top of that, remember, there is tax also involved that you have to also provide for. So really, it's not quite 80,000, but for only 6 million. So 5 times that, roughly 4 to 5 times that, which is about 200, 4 times that, which is about 320,000. I have been getting for 26 million. So I was possibly better off selling that property if at the bottom of what I need right now is income, and putting this money in a long-term lock-in treasury bonds that will give me 320,000 shillings per month and shows me the calendar of what. So that's what the rich do. The rich, so they may not walk around, you may not see them with a lot of, properties. You may not see a lot of, flats, will not have flats, but you're wondering, where does this person's money come from? Now you know. It could be just as simple as they've converted or chosen to put their money using data to make the right decisions and invest in bonds, whereas you chose to invest in a flat. But remember, they don't just do bonds, they will possibly have a mix of flats and bonds. So one of the key lessons that we also teach is about being able to diversify your portfolio. So that's, I'd like to stop there as far as the platform is concerned. There's a lot that you can get from this platform. There are those calculators, as you've seen, how the bonds work, and you might be asking, how do I even buy this bond? We have all that information on how you can buy the bond. We go ahead and show you, if you go into C-Level bonds and build monthly portfolios, you can get into that information, how the bond formula works, you can get that information. If you want to know, for instance, beyond board income calculators, and you want to see now all other bonds in terms of rates. What exactly are the rates? So here you can only see the coupon rates for the different bonds that have been selected for you for this particular best case that you want. But if I go back to the home page, and if I go here to the right-hand side at the top and click on T-bonds here, I can have information on what are treasury bonds. I can access that information. How do I invest in treasury bonds? So if you click on this, it will tell you exactly what you need to do, how to invest in treasury bonds, and how to go into specifically getting into the CDS and exactly etc etc etc. So can I sell treasury bonds before maturity? There's all that information available there for you. So again, going back to the home page, if I go to what are the treasury bonds in Kenya, all the information is right there. And you can pick a lot of information on how do I invest in treasury bonds, register on the CBK DAO CSD portal, and where you need to go, what you need to have. And once you have done that, to submit a non-competitive bid before the auction deadline. Typically that happens on Wednesdays. So if you want to invest tonight, which is a Tuesday when I'm doing this podcast, you can be able to do that. So you might think it's a lot of information, but it's important information. Some people have said, but that's too much information. My friend, that's the information that the rich and the wealthy work with. They don't work with, so and so said. They work with real data to make the right decisions. If you never took out anything from this conversation about data and information, I'll just give you an example, of how a property in Upper Hill valued at 30 million would give us only 80,000 shillings, my apologies, I beg your pardon. And our main objective for that property was for it to give us income. So we're better off taking the 30 million and putting it in treasury bonds to give us immediate income that we needed, 320,000 per month. And I hope that helps you a great deal. So that's the first thing, information, right? So the next thing, it's not just information. The wealthy and the rich use their money psychology to their advantage. So we have been talking about information and data, but they use their money psychology to their advantage. And they shape and nurture the right money and wealth psychology. So one of the things that they tend to do is they tend to ensure that they are very disciplined around money. They define and live certain behaviors that set them on a course for success around money and wealth. And all this is very much shaped. Your behaviors are very much shaped by your money psychology. So I hope I've helped you answer the first questions. Why, when you ask yourself, why do the rich seem to get richer? Why do the wealth seem to get wealthy? And there's a lot of talk in this town and in this country, in Nairobi and in Kenya, where we say everything is wash. My friend, just because you're not making money and somebody else is making money, not everything is a wash. When you see people and you ask yourself, but I don't see what they do, their money is working for them. There are people who literally can just move around and do absolutely nothing, but they've got money because it's sitting in treasury bonds and they're getting paid out on time without fail, reliably, into their bank account using treasury bonds. So if for anything, we can stop judging people, and not everything that you see is a wash. In fact, you should possibly want to find out, how do you make money, and can you help me understand how to build wealth? And they'll give you a lot of information. And bonds are not just it, they also earn dividends from stocks or equity or shares. They invest in. There's a lot. We'll talk about that later on. Okay, so the next question was around, have you ever asked yourself why someone with less money than you seems to have it all and get ahead? A lot of it is, yes, information is power. They use information to their advantage, that mainly it's about money psychology. So we've also gone ahead and built a platform on which you can access from our site and which you can also access using the MySerari app, which you can download from your Android or your Apple phone or devices. So I'll take you back. I'll share once again my screen for a minute here, and I'll take you to again where we were on MySerari. I mean, on the Serari home page or the Serari main page, the Serari group website. And when you get there, you'll find this button up here at the very top left-hand side corner that's written Money and Life Reset. And we're in the process of also upgrading the platform. So when you come here, it might read My Serari. But anyway, wherever you find around here, just click in there. And we are going to go through a process of how you can actually alter and improve your money psychology. So you have access to this platform, which of course, when you follow through the normal login process to create an account, and you basically are able to log in and you land in here. Okay, so you land in onto this platform that is called MySerari, which has this Your Future Self Thanks You, and it has this menu on the sidebar, starting with dashboard, all through to help. The second menu item here, Learn, is what I want us to focus on. So if you go into Learn here and access the Money and Life Reset program, it's a 12-stage program that has 10 very important things that the rich and the wealthy guard jealously. And they not only guard it jealously, they nurture it jealously. Number one is money psychology. They ensure they are cultivating the right money psychology to be able to generate more and more money and to be able to create more and more wealth and to be able to protect that wealth. So we'll possibly talk about money psychology today, but not in depth, and maybe revisit it once again. There is also values and strategy. They have very clear values that sometimes you can walk up to them and say, I'd like us to partner and do something for something that you're so excited about, and they will say no. And most likely because it's not aligned with their values. They're very clear about their values and they have very clear strategy. They also have such depth of clarity and manifestation because they also have vision boards. They have vision boards. They have clarity, which is a property that they want. They know exactly what that property will be, how it looks like. It's so vivid and clear in their mind. They have a mental picture, and they also have tools that help them put this in or on pen and paper. And they have a life operating system that helps them stay uncut and focused on the manifestations and the vision boards. And then it's not enough to have a strategy and a vision board. They then go out to ensure they have a very good financial plan that helps them allocate money or figure out how to generate income and get the money that they need to do to allocate to their goals that sit in the vision board and their strategy. And then they also ensure they have such high levels of discipline around spend planning. They will not be distracted, and they organize their money not in a restrictive way, but in a way that allows them to spend in the things that are important, but most importantly, to put money aside to be able to fund their goals and their investments. So they do not only put money aside to save, they put money aside for investment. And that's a different concept altogether. Not just savings, but investments. And they're big on giving. We'll talk about that later on at one point. And then they'll also, make sure that they have clarity around investment and savings, and they automate to a great extent savings so that that whole mechanism is working automatically as money comes in. But they are also, even though they are in debt, they're also aware that they are losing or missing opportunities, especially if they have money tied in bad debt. Good debt is good because it opens up for you opportunities that others would not have been able to access. So debt management is central to what they do. And the debt exit strategies is central to what the rich and the wealthy do. But there's also debt entry into good debt that gives them the leverage or the power to be able to enlarge and grow their portfolios and enlarge their estate and basically grow their wealth. So to help you navigate and to be able to understand exactly what they do and how you can become like them, we also have this modular stage that walks you through investing foundations, which I tried to explain to you using the data that I showed you earlier. And they don't only just create wealth, they just create wealth, they acquire assets. They're also very careful around ensuring they protect their assets, starting with their lives, their income, their cars, their properties, and other assets that they have accumulated, including their businesses. So protection and insurance is a core part of managing any risk that would at any one point sort of put into disarray whatever they have built over a very long time. Now, they're also very clear about their tax strategies. What products, what can use, what the government gives you certain tax breaks, gives you certain tax reliefs, gives you, depending on what product that you're investing in, and they will look for these products, or they'll make sure they take advantage of whatever the government has got to offer, but also, most importantly, ensure that they are running their wealth operating system and their money operating system in a tax efficient manner. So the tax strategy is critical. But finally, what sets them apart from everybody else is their daily habits and character. Their daily habits and character. You will distinctively notice, in fact, sometimes we say, people that don't have money are very loud. Their character and their habits are all over the place. But real money is very silent. Very silent. Their habits, their character is everything. So if you want to put in place a daily habit in the right character, we also give you the ability to do that. But I want us to just touch a little bit on the money psychology. So we say the rich and the wealthy get richer and more wealthier because of two things. Information, which you get from piecing together the right data, and therefore they use decision intelligence to be able to make the right decisions using data. But they also nurture the right money psychology. Okay, so if we go into the money psychology, which I would have to activate once I have completed the different stages and basically understood what is happening. So I'll show you this platform that I'm talking about, that I'm referring to. So if I go into, I'll go back to where we were and share this tab. So what I've been talking about are the this particular dashboard, which you're now seeing at this point in time, that you could access from the main website under Money and Life. So under Money and Life, once you log in and create an account, you'll have the LAN, basically people see the LAN menu on the sidebar menu, which is right here. It opens up all these different stages I was speaking through. Talks you through about the money psychology, values and strategy, vision board and life operating system, financial planning, spend planning, savings automation, debt management, and especially debt exit strategies, investing foundations, protection and insurance, tax strategy, daily habits and character. And those are basically some of the most important foundations that the rich and the wealthy master and they nurture over time. So I'm going to get very quickly into the welcome and overview and go to try as much as possible to get into the money psychology so that we can cover that as quickly as possible. So basically what to expect in the welcome and overview basically just tells you what you'll expect in the entire program, which has 12 stages, and why the CRA method is completely different from other conversations that you have around money and life, because we use data, we use tools, we use simulations to help you create a natural and money and a life of money and wealth. So I'm going to just move this a little bit, and basically it gives you the product roadmap, how it works, the wealth portfolio, the right method, and what to be able to achieve. I'll just skip that. You can read that on your own when you get here. There's a good welcome note to Sarah here that tells you that we are truly happy to have you here. Your decision today matters. But most importantly is that you're about to transform the way you think about money and build systems that work around wealth and that transform your lives. So it will tell you how basically the platform works, what's in it, and the different models that you cover. And then why this program exists. Number one, we spoke about financial stress and how it affects our health, relationships, and well-being. And then the fact that lack of knowledge, lack of information about how money truly works and how to manage it. So please, if you're still in the Mongedo zone, hey, my friend, please get out and start making money and making that money work for you and building real wealth. Move out from a zone of lack of knowledge and then not having a clear strategy, having conflicting beliefs and getting overwhelmed with the contradictory advice, especially advice that comes from marketing material, product information that is being thrown to you by banks, by fund managers, by insurance companies, by friends and family, by salespeople. And you're wondering, are they just trying to meet their target or not? You know? And for those of us that have become a little bit, not judgmental, but analytical like I have, often I want to understand, are you interested in helping me really advance my wealth goals, or are you just out to meet your target? And I can tell very quickly between the two. And I would rather come into a platform like this, access all the information, completely unbiased, transparent, and make the decisions by myself beforehand, and then engage you. And I'm able to have a conversation that's directed towards my goals and not towards helping you achieve your targeted example. So the program will do various things for you to help you understand your money psychology, helps you discover your money personality. That's very important because the wealthy and the rich have a very distinct money personality that helps them actually just continue to just grow and grow in richness and in wealth. It will help you also define your values or refine your values, build or refine your vision board, and create a financial plan that supports that vision and strategy. Design a budget that feels sustainable and that's not restrictive, but also automate your savings and eliminate debt strategically, especially bad debt, and protect your wealth as well as build your daily systems. Remember, we talked about character, which is very important, that nurtures the way people think, the way the rich and the wealthy basically go about generating and creating income and converting that income money to be able to work for them and build long-lasting wealth. Okay. So I'll skip this bits. You can read the introductions, the welcome and overview. And I just want us to get very quickly to the reason why I'm actually taking the time to walk you through this platform. Because we don't just use stories. We don't just use, I think I know my experience. We work with data scientists, we work with researchers, we have a behavioral neuroscientist and psychologist as part of the team. And therefore, we're able to put together a platform that helps you nurture the right mindset or build the right mindset, have the right systems and tools, and build the right discipline for you to be able to actually have the right money and wealth mindset to be able to grow money and be able to grow your wealth the same way the very wealthy and the very rich are doing today. I remember there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Okay, so I'll just go straight into the bit on well, there are a couple of questions that I need to be able to answer before before I can be able to go into the money and money psychology bitways, which is where I want to walk you through and talk to you about. But it makes me take a quiz And it says, what are the three pillars that makes Sarai different from other financial platforms? Budgeting, saving, investing, behavior systems and discipline, stocks, bonds, and real estate. We don't just talk about products. We don't just talk about expenses and budgeting. It's about a whole system around behavior systems and discipline. So the right one is behavior. What's the recommended pace for completing the Sarai program? Complete everything in one day. No, don't try and do that. Please try and take one stage per week at your own pace. That's what we would recommend. One stage that you're able to internalize and start to practice and start to transform your life. And at the end of 12 weeks, you should have start to see an incredible, distinct difference in your life and your money and wealth journey should transform significantly. Okay, so it says one stage per week. Says not quite one stage per week. Not complete everything in one day. So we want to ensure that you take one stage per week at your own pace. What is the main goal of the Sarai Wealth Builder program? To make you obsessed with money? Absolutely not. To sell financial products? No. To create systems and mindset for money to support the life that you want. To teach stock trading? No. It's to create systems and a mindset for money to support the life you want. Okay. And how many stages are there in the full Sarai program? So there are 12 stages. The first one is an introduction, and the stage 12, you get a certificate on completing the program. So we've completed that, and now we can get into what I really want to talk about. And what I want us to talk about is, so we've completed, now we want to get into the psychology of money. So here we are. By the way, you don't have to read everything. The good news is that you see this button up here where you have, a play button. You can actually play and listen. And you can choose different, voices, whether it's a male voice or a female voice. So Sarah is our female voice and Farah is our male guide. So Sarah, if you click on it.
This is an automatic reading of Money Psychology. 150 SP. Page 1, The Psychology of Money. Before we start building your wealth systems, we need to talk about something very important. Money is not just about numbers. It is about behavior, emotions, habits, beliefs, and decisions. Two people can earn the same income. One builds wealth, the other struggles financially. The difference is often the psychology of money. Understanding how you think and feel about money will help you make better financial decisions.
Allow me to pause there. So what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is that you don't have to read through all the content. When you get to the LAN platform, you can actually activate the audio option. If you're working out, you can listen to it. If you're driving, you can listen to it. If you're somewhere sitting and you just want to listen to the program, you can also tune in and select, the audio options. So the psychology of money is absolutely important and it matters because first and foremost, let me just focus on this little bit here. It helps you recognize your harmful financial habits, like the one I told you about, lifestyle inflation. Get more money, you buy a bigger car. Get more money, you buy an even bigger car. Get more money, you buy a second car for your children. And they possibly don't even use it. You buy another one, and before you know it, your parking is beautiful with a number of cars. It makes you feel nice, but your value is depreciating every day. And you're losing value every single day that that car or those cars sit in your garage. So it's not about the number of vehicles that you have. That's why I told you the rich and the wealthy, their money is quiet. So you could go here and find even no car or one car or two. For someone, you'd expect to have maybe even 5, 6, 10 cars. But because they recognize the harmful financial habits and completely stay away from them. And that is part of money psychology, behavior, emotions, and habits. This is one fundamental distinction between the rich and the wealthy compared to those of us that are struggling to just make it. And where the thought that we can be rich and wealthy does not even come anywhere close, because our habits, our emotions, our behaviors are actually working against us. So it also matters because it helps you avoid emotional financial decisions. It helps you build a discipline and consistency. and develop long-term thinking. Ha, 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 ha. This is a nice one. When I started my story, when I told you when I used to live in Yashie and when I used to do to the landlord, then I realized, hey, once you get your act together, start writing and planning your money properly. So I'd create those nice little budgets. But I was planning for the end of month all the time. I remember I told you one of the biggest money mistakes was for me always start with my listing my expenses when any money would come in. So that whole money psychology around, yes, I had the discipline of budgeting, but making it consistent, being consistent around it and doing it right, is also part of money psychology. And then developing the long-term thinking. Now, the long-term thinking, not planning for the end of month. No. Not planning for, the holidays, not planning for school fees coming in 2 months, not planning for Christmas coming in about 5 months or so, or 6 months. No, it's planning long-term. And your psychology of money begins to shift towards a rich lifestyle and a wealthy lifestyle when you start thinking 5 years, 10 years cycles. Anything below that, quite frankly, does not give you the leverage and advantage that the truly wealthy use to be able to access long-term products that create wealth over time and compound over time. But also are able to access higher yield products because they're not looking at what will it pay me per month for this month only. They're looking for a long term. So there's a whole huge advantage of thinking long term and planning long term. And then, of course, they are barely stressed. They reduce stress around money and they know how to navigate around conversations around money. And we'll talk about that at one point. So I would urge you to get into this. The module would take about an hour or so. So I'll not get into it, but you can do it on your own. So once again, I just want to come back and wrap up the conversation for today. And the conversation for today pretty much was around the question that we often tend to ask is why the rich get richer, why the wealthy get wealthier, and why someone who earns exactly the same amount of money as me seems to be doing a lot more better than I am and making the right wealth and money decisions. And a lot of the time, it boils down to two things only. Number one, data and information. They have access to the right data, accurate, real-time, most recent information. They're able to take advantage and grab opportunity, take advantage of opportunities or situations and grab opportunities. And in the meantime, all we are doing is talking about, I don't know, sharing memes around I'm trying not to be, forgive me, but I'm just trying not to be rude or to be mean, but we are possibly just sharing memes around my bed sitter and my sufuria, or we're sharing memes around getting air conditioning using a chicken, a flopping chicken. I'm sure you've seen those memes, you've seen those videos and TikTok videos that do not necessarily add life so much to your life. They're important. They improve your well-being. You feel nice. They bring out the endorphins. But my friend, please, let's use data and real information. Please, 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 please. That's why the wealth get wealthier and the richer get richer. And then finally, shape your money psychology. They nurture the right money psychology, their behaviors, their emotions, and their discipline around money and wealth is incredible. And that is why sometimes you could walk to them and tell them, I want us to do this project, and they will tell you no, because they have the right information, or not at this point in time, because they have, it's not possibly aligned with their values, or they can tell very quickly, their money psychology already tells them that no, and that is not for me because this is what I should be doing. They're very clear. They have such clarity. It's incredible. Right. So I know some of you may have invited me to invest in certain projects or even better Serrari to invest in certain ventures. And sometimes we have said no, even when we think we have a bit of money that we could possibly be putting in, and you've seen us possibly put money somewhere. And I want to tell you the main reason is because using the data and intelligence information that we have, we are able to see that's possibly not the right opportunity for us at this point in time. So we actively use data and information to make the right decisions, financial decisions, and investment decisions. So please take advantage of the same. We've tried as much as possible using a team of data scientists, researchers, certified financial analysts, financial engineers, as well as behavioral neuroscientists, put this team together to be able to put all this information together, update it on a daily basis as frequent as possible. So recency is one of the hallmarks of the data that we give, data integrity, as well as ensuring that accuracy is as high as possible. They're completely non-biased, completely transparent, and therefore giving you the information to make the right decisions that otherwise would only have been accessed through a relationship manager or accessed through a private wealth manager or an investment advisor who would be fairly expensive. This information is available on serrarigroup.com on the home pages across the market indices, across the marketplace, and you have it at your fingertips, the guides to be able to work with. We've completely democratized it. You can access it from the diaspora, you can access it from Kenya. So please make use of it. Go to serrarigroup.com and you will find that information. serrarigroup.com. And then also remember, the next other thing, number 2, money psychology is everything. Can work for you or against you. Nurture the right money psychology and build a psychology of money and wealth that works for you and that's not destroying your money for you. To get your money to work for you, whether it is using that money to invest in businesses, whether it is using that money to invest in bonds or other money market products or real estate or whatever other asset class that suits you. And I'll walk you through how to make choices around the right asset class depending on what you want to be able to achieve. But for now you know how the wealthy get wealthier, how the richer get richer, using data and information and developing and nurturing the right money and wealth psychology. This is the Money and Wealth Circle with Nancy. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving us audience and listening through to the very end. See you next time. Bye-bye.